Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I am here to bring you my TBR for March for Women's History Month in 2019. So, just like I did in February, where I made a TBR focusing on Black history, this month I'm doing a TBR focusing on women's history, and every month this year I'm going to be focusing on some sort of topic or background for the authors that I read. If you missed it, I do have a video of my monthly priorities for 2019, so I'll link that below. This month, I am going to limit myself to only 10 books. So in February, I went a little overboard and I listed so many different books. But this time, I'm going to limit myself to just 10 books, talk about those that are very high priority for me. The first book for me that will be a priority in March is a book that I got a few years ago and still haven't read despite very much wanting to. It's called Women in Tech, and it's an edited volume by Tara Wheeler Van Vleck. And it's just a bunch of women who are in tech talking about their experiences and their advice. So I've wanted to read this. I've had it on my shelf. It's actually a physical copy, which is probably why I haven't read it. I don't really like physical books as much. So I really want to read that in March. The next book on my TBR for March is also a book that I've had for a while, but this one is not in English. So this is a Spanish translation of a book that I have read in English. So the English version is called Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. In Spanish, it's called Cuentos de buenas noches para niñas rebeldes, and it's by Elena Favilli and Francesca Cavallo, who I believe are Italian authors, I think. But this is a book that I got from Kickstarter, and it's just a set of stories about different women who have in some way rebelled against the strictures of society that limited them by their gender. So I have read this in English before, but I want to read it in Spanish. And I've read even like maybe 20% of this so far, but I just need to kind of kick myself into gear and actually get the rest of those stories read. One of my cousins and I are sort of doing a very long-term buddy read of this. We're both very slow, but I want to prioritize it in March and get it read. Another book with a similar theme is Headstrong by Rachel Swaby, which is a series of 52 profiles of women who have made big scientific contributions. So it's just kind of bios of these women, what they've contributed to science, why they're important, and I love that sort of thing, so I would like to read that this month. Next on my list is Half the Sky by Kristof and Sheryl Wudunn. This is a book that I put on my list for the Kwanzaa principle of Nia, or purpose, and it is a book that focuses on a lot of poor countries and how investing in women will have a huge return on that investment and create great economic growth and lift people out of poverty. So it's focusing on just the importance of really empowering women. So I thought it'd be great for this month. Next is The Woman's Hour by Elaine Weiss. This is a book that I heard recommended by ABookOlive. It is a nonfiction book going over the history of how the 19th Amendment, which was women's suffrage, got passed. I absolutely love history, and I thought this would be a really fun read because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting politics that went into this decision. Another nonfiction with a strong historical focus on my list is Women and Power by Mary Beard. And in this book, Mary Beard takes a look from antiquity to modern day in the Western world at what sort of power inequalities have existed for women. Next, I'd like to read a classic feminist essay called A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. And in this, Woolf argues that women need financial independence and freedom from domestic obligations in order to be able to produce creative works. So this is something I've heard a lot about, but I've never read, so I'm excited to read it. Another feminist essay that I'd like to read is We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. So again, this is a classic that I have heard of and I would like to read. Next, I'd like to read Volume 1 of the Eleanor Roosevelt biography series by Blanche, Weiss, and Cook. This is another thing that is on my Kwanzaa principles list. This one was for Imani, or faith. I think that Eleanor Roosevelt was a really strong leader and had a lot of sort of moral fortitude. So I'd like to read this biography about her. I'm only asking myself to read Volume 1 for now, but eventually I'd like to read all of the volumes. Last thing on my list is a book that I've heard so many other people talk about that I really want to get my hands on, which is Becoming by Michelle Obama. Although there is a very long wait list at my library, so we'll see if I get it in March. I have requested it though. So Becoming is just a story, a memoir about Michelle Obama growing up and through her White House years. And I think that sort of like Eleanor Roosevelt, she's got a strong moral compass. She is a very sort of grounded leader who knows what matters and knows that it's important to lead through example, and just seems like a great person to know more about and be inspired by. So those are the books that are top of my TBR for March. I do have actually quite a number of other books that I'm also interested in reading, but I did limit myself to just 10 to talk about in this video. So when March comes, I will just be reading whatever I am in the mood to read, whatever comes through in my library, and I will be reading things that are not on this list as well, things that have nothing to do with women really. I just like to make sure that I prioritize in my holds books that are on that topic. So we will see what March holds. And if you guys are reading anything special for March, or if you're reading anything about women or anything you think would be a good book to add to my list, please let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested to hear about it.